The United States economic freedom has been declining a while. Part of that is because of these massive deficits that we've been running over the last decade or more. But this year in particular, we saw a decline in trade freedom. Um,
Joining me now is Ambassador Terry Miller. He's with the Heritage Foundation. Ambassador, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's nice to be with you.
And for those of you watching, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Daily Caller. Now, Ambassador, the Heritage Foundation just released its annual index of economic freedom. It appears that the United States didn't even make it into the top 10. Why is that?
Well, it's very disappointing, isn't it? The United States economic freedom has been declining a while. Part of that is because of these massive deficits that we've been running over the last decade or more. But this year in particular, we saw a decline in trade freedom as a result of all these tariffs that have been put in place. And that caused the U.S. score to decline a little bit, and our ranking dropped 5 places from 12th place to 17th.
And it looks like the top 5 includes Singapore at number 1, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia. So what exactly are these countries doing differently than what we're doing here at the United States?
They have very good control of their fiscal balances in all of those countries. Some of them have a substantial amount of government spending, but they are not running large deficits in general. But mainly what they do is that they open themselves fully to flows of world trade and investment. They're fully engaged in this globalized economy that at least up until this recent crisis has done so much to increase prosperity and lift people out of poverty around the world.
And for the people who are watching this video who aren't really familiar with the index, what exactly do you look for, the categories? And just to be clear, I believe this has been conducted for what, 20 years now?
This is our 26th annual edition, so we've been doing this quite a while, and we have a very large database that allows us to determine what kinds of policies are best to promote development, to promote rapid economic growth, to promote social well-being in countries all over the world. And what we do is measure 4 broad categories of economic policy making. We look at the rule of law in countries. Do they respect property rights? What's the level of corruption? We look at government spending, deficits, tax rates. We look at the regulatory environment. That's a very big deal. What is the government doing to constrain economic activity rather than to liberalize it? And finally, we look at openness to the world economy. We look at levels of trade, levels of tariffs. We look at openness to investment. We look at flows of finance in and out of countries. Countries that are more open do much better in terms of promoting development and growth.
And overall, why does this matter for regular Americans who are hearing about this, and maybe this is the first time they've learned about the Economic Freedom Index? At the end of the day, like, what difference does it make in our lives?
Well, we have this huge debate right now in our country between the free market and socialism. And what we're measuring in this index is the commitment of various countries to the free market system. And what we find is that those that are more committed to the free market just do much better for their citizens. People have higher incomes, their higher growth rates, their better standards of health care. Countries with more economic freedom do a much better job protecting the environment. This is all about the quality of life for people. It's not just about wealth for a few. It's about societies overall. And countries that are more committed to economic freedom have a much higher quality of life for all their citizens.
And as for the coronavirus pandemic, what effect do you think this will have on our nation? And what's your prediction on how the index will report on our country this year?
Yeah, well, of course, like everyone else, I hope that the actual health impact on our country is fairly modest, but already we're seeing that the economic impact can be quite severe. And obviously, all of these measures that are being taken to distance people socially are going to have an impact on their economic freedom. We are less free economically today as individuals than we were a week ago or a month ago because of these restrictions, some that are imposed by the government and some that we're imposing on ourselves. The hope would have to be that these are very short-term measures, that we can get away from this, get back to interacting with people. This is particularly important now because of the importance of services in our economy. So many people in our economy, the majority really, work in the service industry rather than in manufacturing. And it's these service functions that are being the most severely impacted by the social distancing, by the restrictions that are in place. So that entire segment of our economy and all the individuals that work there are going to be severely impacted right now. So my hope would be that we flatten this infection curve and get out of this as quickly as possible.
Well, Ambassador, thank you so much for your insight. We really appreciate your time.
I'm happy to be with you. Thanks.